Coming up in mere moments, it's all about Android with me, Jason Howell, and Ron Richards, just the two of us tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Android 13, getting all material you on you. Windows Subsystem for Android gets stable, finally. Ron shares his thoughts on his new Pixel Watch. I've got thoughts as well, but he's got more of them. Nothing has new earbuds that are on the horizon. Ron actually likes the design of them, personally, according to him anyways. Messages has a blue logo that you've probably noticed by now, plus your feedback and a whole lot more coming up next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 601, recorded Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. Price hikes are a-coming. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Bitwarden. Get the password manager that offers a robust and cost-effective solution that can drastically increase your chances of staying safe online. Get started with a free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or get started for free across all devices as an individual user at bitwarden.com/twit. And by HPE Green Lake, orchestrated by the experts at CDW, who can help you consolidate and manage all your data in one flexible edge-to-cloud platform to scale and innovate. Learn more at cdw.com/HPE. Hello and welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for the latest news, the latest hardware, and the latest apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards. And Jason, are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down. I'm here. Not wearing a headset either.
It is the 601st episode of All About Android.
Whoa, surprise, victory! Stuff falls from the sky.
Burke has all these sound effects and special things that are going to happen in the studio any second as soon as he presses the button. Like the confetti's going to fall.
There it is. Your singular quack as a celebration for the monumental 601st episode, since we made such small fanfare around last week's episode 600. You know, I think we just kind of felt bad for 601 because it always gets overlooked. It's always like, oh yeah, my brother over here, 600, gets all the surprise, all the attention, and I'm just like, whatever, it's 601. So
yeah. That's why I feel like, we downplayed 600 because we want everyone knows that when you hit 600, it's actually not about 600, it's about 601.
Yeah.
Because anybody can get to 600.
Right.
How many people have made it past 600 to 601? That's the question.
It's kind of like 600 is maybe the end of the chapter, and then the next chapter begins on 601. And so we're celebrating the start of something new. Or maybe what we should do, instead of celebrating round numbers, we should just pick a completely arbitrary number at random and celebrate it with the amount of vigor that we would normally celebrate, like a major milestone. Yeah. Although that might be a little soon. We want to wait long enough so people forget that we ever had this conversation right now.
666. That's the one we're doing.
Oh, that one's a little too, that one's a little too on the nose. I think people would expect that something might happen then. So anyways, if you have an idea for the episode number where we should do a random celebration, email us, AAA@twit.tv. We'd love to know.
Open up to the community. We'd love to hear from you and let us know what you think we should celebrate. But in honor of 601 episodes, Jason, you and I, old school OGs, we're here because we got a nice mix of stuff going on in the Android world this week, I think. Right?
Yes, we don't have Win. Win is out this week. She's actually at the Android Developer Summit, and we thought about kind of talking about some of the news then, but then we're like, she's there. And she's soaking it all up in person. So why don't we hold that off until next week when she's back so we can get the real deal from her instead of try and make sense of it, which I mean is useful, I suppose, for us. But sometimes it's just best to have the person who really, really knows that stuff, the developer stuff, talk about it.
So that's a teaser for next week.
Yes.
We're going to talk all about the Win next week.
Yeah, maybe later. Yeah, we'll do that.
But which is great because in this episode, we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. I got the Pixel Watch.
Oh, I do too.
Wrist. So
I got the Pixel Watch too.
Whoa, Jason all of a sudden gets very violent with his hand gestures for audio listeners.
I was just holding the watch up. That's all I was doing.
Video listeners, I apologize for what you just heard. Audio listeners, you don't know what we're referring to. But we're gonna talk about the Pixel Watch later in the show. So maybe later we'll talk about it.
Maybe a little bit later we'll talk about the Pixel Watch, but not before we talk about the news.
Maybe later.
Wow, 2 words that could be a record. All right, I'll accept it. I mean, it's on point. It's on theme at least. So good job. Okay, so starting with Android 13 Go Edition. What is Go Edition? This is the version of Android that is meant to bring as much of Android's new features and featurey goodness to lower spec devices. And, we recently had a couple of months ago the official release of Android 13. And so now we're starting to see that Android 13 Go Edition is out. It's released, getting some significant upgrades that'll make those low-powered devices more modern feeling. And how? Because last year was on the Android 12 side of things, the non-Go version of things, was all about Material U and this really big visual refresh and everything. And Android Go last year did not get any of that. So here we are a year later. Android 13 Go Edition gets the Material U support. It gets the dynamic color theming, although in order to do dynamic color theming on these lower spec, lower storage devices, they've limited the color schemes to 4 options instead of 16, which I think, okay, that's actually great. I feel like, didn't it launch with 4 options on regular Android?
I think it did.
12, so it's kind of like
serves. Yeah.
No biggie. I think that's great. That's a great trade-off. Now, it's 16, so we have a lot of choice on our Pixel 7s and all that kind of stuff. But if you're on a Go device, you at least get 4 to choose from. Also includes the Discover feed, which is that feed off to the left. So if you swipe right from the home screen, you get that Discover feed, which I'll be honest, I hate the Discover feed at this point. Like anytime I go in there, I just get angry because it's so full of it's just so full of, dare I say, crap, garbage. What do you think?
You can say it.
Can I?
Or I guess I just did. Say it.
I just did.
It's 600. It's 601 episodes. You made that hand gesture. You can say whatever you want. So
I have to Google that hand gesture and be sure that it isn't incredibly offensive. It probably is. Do we have to edit that out?
Well, it could be.
Okay,
I wouldn't. Not here. Okay. People will understand.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I was just showing off the watch.
Maybe a double entendre.
Ooh, okay. We'll have to decide about that. But anyways, I don't know. Do you like the Discover feed, Ron?
I love the Discover feed.
Do you?
I use the Discover feed probably more often than anything on the phone at all.
Okay, I'm looking at my Discover feed. Let's see what
I love my Discover feed.
Amazing quality content is in here.
Well, so what I like about the Discover feed is that it accurately uses my Google search history to serve me up content that I actually am interested in.
Okay. Noah Cyrus. All right.
The only thing I complain about with it is that sometimes things sneak in there like basketball and stuff I don't care about. But
why does that happen? I don't understand why that happens if this is supposed to be totally relevant to you.
You could go deep in it if you want to. If you go into where is it? I don't want to do the thing where I'm looking at to figure it out, but I've been in the settings for the Discover feed and if you go upper right-hand corner, Jason, and you tap on your face, okay, and then you choose settings. I love tapping on your face, by the way. Okay. And then manage your interests right there in the settings.
This will be interesting. All right, everybody. Welcome to my interests.
So what you've got then is you get 2 lists of your interests and what you're not interested in.
Okay.
Right. And
I'm really kind of frightened here. Okay.
Yeah. No. I'll talk through mine.
You can show it.
You can't really see it, but so under your interests, like for me, I have proactively told it I follow the New York Mets and World Cup soccer.
Okay.
Now, based on my activity, it's giving me content about Black Panther, comic books, Magic Kingdom, Marvel Studios, Epcot, HBO, Twitter, pinball, indie rock, The Smiths, New York, Italian cuisine, Video games.
So I guess the
like
more of those that you put in there, you actually see the Smiths.
But that's the thing. That whole list that I just rattled off, are all the things that it has figured out about me. That that is based on your activity. And basically, this is based on my search activity of things I've searched for or content I've consumed via Google. So it has listened and accurately curated a Discover tab based on my interests that I love. I've only told it I'm interested in 2 things. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really pretty good. Now, the list of things I'm not interested in is much longer because I've proactively told Discover, don't show me this stuff. So like the Atlanta Braves.
This is a pretty funny list, actually.
Brett Kavanaugh, Donald Trump Jr., Family Guy.
Hold on, Ron. Look at Jason's.
Al Roker. At some point, I decided no more Al Roker. Get out of my feed.
Alt J is good.
What is Alt J?
1989.
It's a band.
Oh, okay. The Chicago Bears. Yeah, get out of there. Yeah, Donald Trump, get out of there.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Did I put that in Don't Come Up Here?
It's a blank
space.
Blank space. Yeah, the video. Any Taylor Swift is fine, but definitely not that video. Apparently, I said not interested in that.
What I really like is that the majority of my not interested is basically all the other teams in the National League East. Chris Hardwick. I put in my not interested.
This is
Jason.
Really
you have quite wow.
Also, Jason, at the bottom there are sources.
Am I?
Jason, at the bottom there are sources.
Yeah.
So not only is it topic based, but I said don't give me anything from Fox News.
Hi.
So I never see anything from Fox News. Like, how great is you chose the New York Post? What the heck?
I don't know. Apparently, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know why I did any of these things. It's probably like I got a result and I was like, I don't like that result. Go away. Well, and then it like
go back to your Discover. Go back to your Discover tab. I feel like I'm schooling you on Discover. So go back. All
right. There we go.
So on a story, go back to that Miley Cyrus story or whatever, the one that you
this one that I was like, okay, cool. Noah Cyrus wears a see-through white dress. Okay.
hit the hamburger. No, tapping on it is not going to help.
You said go back to it. I did. Okay. So
now hit the hamburger menu.
Okay. All right.
And then now here you can say not interested in this.
Right.
Not interested in the topic.
Where you know what's missing here, Ron? Maybe later.
Maybe later.
Why is maybe later not in there? Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, so not interested in Noah Cyrus, I suppose. Sure, I can do that.
That's fair.
Okay. See, and I've done that, and now it's going to appear in that list of nothing. So, of don't show me these things. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I open this. Like, I feel like right now I'm opening it, and I'm like, oh, actually, there are some good things in here. But I've had other times where I open it, and it feels like. It just feels like a link farm or something. You know what I mean? Like it's showing me all those same types of stories that appear on like Outbrain or something along those lines. And I'm like, like I would never turn here to spend time. I would much rather open Reddit and like read, the news items that appear there. Anyways, whew, that was a little whatever.
That was a journey.
There we go. A journey outside of the actual story. So anyway, if you've been missing Discover and everything we just talked about and you're on an Android Go edition device, there you go. Notification permissions, per app language preferences coming, Project Mainline support. That's actually really cool because that allows, parts of the OS to be updated outside of a major update, piecemeal, piece by piece, kind of going around the carriers. And for, I think, low cost devices, I think that's actually a really big deal because low cost devices often carry with them a larger sacrifice as far as control by the carriers, things like that. So that seems like a way around that. Google now requires at least 2 gigs of RAM for Go devices. So the minimum device to qualify for Go has now increased to 2 gigs, which I think is pretty fair in this day and age. If you got less than that, what kind of phone, experience are you actually going to have? And you can expect these devices to start hitting in 2023. Important to note, over 250 monthly devices running Android Go. 250 million, monthly devices are running Android Go, up by 50 million from December of last year. So there you go. Boom. So yeah, all you Android Go Edition fans out there, that top story is for you. Thanks for taking me on a little journey there, Ron. I appreciate it.
It was good. Yeah. I'm glad I could be your tour guide on the good ship Discover, which I think is a good. I think it's. I mean, maybe I'm alone. I don't know. You and the All About Android community after 601 episodes, if you use the Discover, it's funny because it's like a lot of the content in the Discover portion of it is very similar to Google News. Like often what I'll do, and like what I find myself when I'm idle with my phone is I just swipe right and I go through the Discover tab and I get to the bottom of it and then I go to the News tab and I try to see how many are the same stories. But it's essentially the same as the Google News filtering. So
I guess so. It just sometimes feels like more clickbait type stuff gets through, and that's when I kind of tune out. So anywho.
Well, we were talking about Windows before the show started. If you remember, we're actually talking about physical Windows,
actual
panes
Windows.
of glass,
actual.
But our good friends up in Washington, after a year of testing, the Windows Subsystem for Android, also known as WSA, as if it was like out of FDR's New Deal, the Windows Subsystem for Android is now in a stable phase of rollout. So it's rolling out to everyone in 31 markets. 50,000 apps are supported. You can access the apps via the Amazon App Store, a little Washington synergy there, Microsoft teaming up with Amazon. But the great thing about this is that you no longer need to be running a beta version of Windows 11 to use it. It still lacks support for picture-in-a-picture, hardware DRM, USB, direct Bluetooth access, and Android widgets. But those are expected to roll out soon. So they're getting closer to parity. And our, good friend of the show, contributor to the show, Michelle Rahman, shared that Android 13 is on the horizon for the Windows subsystem for Android. So Microsoft getting into the Android game in a very clever, unique kind of way. So,
and in the move towards making Android work in all different places, this is, I think, a good thing. Again, it's kind of hard to kind of read through this and not kind of rib the effort a little bit for relying on the Amazon App Store, as the kind of workaround way to make this happen. Although Google has its own way that it's working on bringing Android apps to Windows as well. So this isn't the only way to go about it. But I mean, 50,000 apps supported through here. And if the integration is I guess maybe that's the question that I have, because I haven't actually used this. I don't have a Windows 11 device, but I'm curious, are you aware that you're using the Amazon kind of app store approach, or is it invisible? Because if it's invisible, if it's we're tapping into the Android App Store or the Amazon App Store to make this happen, but they're still just Android apps. If you don't really have that interaction, then why does it matter whether it's coming from Android App Store or Amazon's App Store or Google App Store? If it's an Android app, it's an Android app. Who cares?
I wonder if it's less of a technical complication and more of a business situation.
Yeah, right.
Right. Where either Google doesn't want this to happen and doesn't want to grant access, because is the subsystem running AOSP? Does it have, the checklist of all the things that a device needs to do in order to access the Play Store? Is this is it valid in those eyes?
Gosh, I would say absolutely not.
Right. So that could be one thing, but then conversely, let's say that it is. Maybe, Microsoft and Amazon are up there in Seattle and Redmond and they're all hanging out. They're like, hey, how can we work together? And Amazon's like, we built this whole App Store infrastructure. Literally the only people who use it are our Kindle tablet users. Do you want to get in, do you want to work together and team up in that regard? And that way they're working together kind of against Google. So I could see a corporate synergy route to go there. Either of them, I think, are viable reasons, or maybe both of them. Who knows? So,
yeah. Burke just pulled up a screenshot of kind of the experience, and it does say Amazon App Store. So you're probably right. There's part of this is probably just the corporate kind of deal, angle of things. But at the end of the day, it is Android. Someone in chat, who was that, asked if you could sideload. Oh, his cousin of Ja asked, can you sideload apps? And I found on Windows Central an article, how to sideload Android apps using WSA on Windows 11. So that is possible. Nice. So at the end of the day, it is Android. It's an implementation that allows you to pull an Android APK and sideload it into the system. So, okay. I mean, it's a way to do it where there wasn't a way before that was very easy or wasn't without, being like a virtualized environment or that sort of stuff. So there you go. Maybe that's better.
There it is.
Curious. Actually, that's definitely something that I'm curious about, is hearing from people who are using this. What are you using it for? What do you think? AAA@twit.tv. Let us know. And then finally, Samsung took 2 months to get Android 13 onto its S22 series of devices. And I think that's pretty solid. Like 2 months.
Yeah.
Obviously, we applaud when a manufacturer is able to, bring Android 13 out within days of the original release. And that does happen. Certain manufacturers are able to pull that off. Samsung has so many phones, but they also happen to have the majority of, at least here in the US, Samsung is synonymous with Android for a lot of users. There's just a ton of those devices out there. So taking 2 months to bring Android 13 to their devices, I think that's a pretty big deal. Verizon already listing the update as available. Just for comparison's sake, 12L, which was the version before that was really designed around foldable devices, that was brought to the foldable devices in Samsung's queue in September. That was 6 months after its official release. So 6 months versus 2 months. Maybe maybe there's something to be said for the complexity of the update. Android 13 not being on a foldable device, maybe being a little bit more permissions focused versus some of the stuff in 12L was very big, like very big changes on how the experience is and the architecture and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's the reason. But I applaud Samsung for having a pretty quick turnaround for their latest smartphones.
That is great. I mean, clearly the leader in the non-Google based manufacturers in terms of getting it fastest out to their users. So bravo, Samsung.
Good job. Yeah. The S20, the 21, the Fold Flip 3, and the Fold Flip 4 should update next month. Any of the older devices and mid-range devices coming December through January. So there you go. If you are a Samsung fan, hopefully that means you don't have much longer to wait. All right.
Hopefully.
Maybe later is what we're saying.
Maybe later. Maybe later you'll get Android 13.
Maybe. Just maybe.
HTC.
And actually in the Android realm, that's all you ever really have is maybe later. Right? Even sometimes they tell you you're definitely getting it, and then you realize it was actually a maybe later. And that's really disappointing when that happens. I think Samsung's better than that. It's the other manufacturers that do that more often. So anywho, we've got some hardware news coming up. Both Ron and I are wearing the Pixel Watch and have been for the last week or so. So we've got thoughts. There it is. We're going to talk about those thoughts in a moment. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Bitwarden. We'd like to thank Bitwarden for their support of this show. But Bitwarden is the only open source cross-platform password manager that can be used at home. It can be used at work. It can be used on the go. It's trusted by millions. With Bitwarden, you can securely store credentials across personal and business worlds. And October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And, we still got a couple of days in October, so it's still okay to celebrate, and however you choose to celebrate Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Bitwarden would like to remind everyone about key actions that you should take in order to practice safer security online. You use strong passwords. Bitwarden can actually help you do this. It can generate and store strong passwords for you. You want to enable multi-factor authentication. You want to put that on as many accounts as you can, including your password manager. Multi-factor authentication is it's the easiest way to add extra security to your accounts. You enable two-step login on Bitwarden, and that actually improves the security of your password vault with options like verification through email or Authenticator app. So you can tie it to an authenticator app of your choice, available for all accounts, and FIDO2 or YubiKey OTP available for premium subscriptions. And Bitwarden has just rolled out some other features as well. Password-protected encrypted export, so you can export your vault in an encrypted format using the password of your choice. They've got a mobile username generator. Finally, it also includes support for 3 of the 5 aliases that Bitwarden supports. DuckDuckGo email alias. This is support for their service that's been integrated now, bringing the number of supported alias services up to 5. DuckDuckGo Mac OS browser integration. So Bitwarden has actually partnered with DuckDuckGo, a great, combination if you ask me, to create an integration with their forthcoming Mac OS browser. You can stay tuned for that, for when they're going to launch this feature later. Bitwarden is also a must-need for your business. It's fully customizable. It adapts to your business needs. You can use Bitwarden Send. That's a fully encrypted method to transmit sensitive information, whether it's text or maybe it's just files, maybe both. Generate unique and secure passwords for every site with enterprise-grade security that's GDPR, CCPA, HIPAA, and SOC 2 compliant. Their Teams organization option is $3 a month per user, and their enterprise organization plan is $5 a month per user. You can share private data securely with coworkers, across departments, or the entire company. It's all possible. Individuals can use their basic free account. That's right, free account forever for an unlimited number of passwords. That's awesome. That right there is just ridiculous that you can use this for free forever with our basic account. Or you can upgrade anytime to their premium account. That's a whopping $1 a month. Obviously, I'm I'm exaggerating with whopping, because $1 a month is kind of crazy in and of itself. That's basically nothing. The family organization option gives you up to 6 users premium features for only $3.33 a month. At Twit, we are fans of password managers, swear by them, in fact. Bitwarden is the only open source cross-platform password manager that can be used at home. It can be used on the go, at work, and it's trusted by millions of individuals, teams, and organizations worldwide. So get started with a free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or you can get started for free across all devices as an individual user at bitwarden.com/twit. That is bitwarden.com/twit. And we thank Bitwarden for their support of All About Android and for continuing to support the Twit network. We really do appreciate it. All right, it's time for some hardware. Let's do it. Okay, Ron, all right. you yes. bought the Pixel Watch. When did you get it?
I got it last Thursday, I want to say.
Okay, so last Thursday, that's you. So you've been wearing it all through the weekend. You've started your week off with it. I'm super curious to hear your thoughts on the Pixel Watch.
All right. Well, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm going to break it down into overall kind of hardware, kind of how it feels, how it looks, and all that sort of stuff, and then practical use and that sort of thing. So how it looks, I think it looks great. Yeah. I think the watch itself looks awesome. I think the band feels comfortable and it's not too, it's not too restrictive. I didn't get any other bands or anything like that. I've got the rubbery one that it comes with or whatnot, I think the display, I like the round. I know you were concerned about the rounded glass. I like it.
I love it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love it. It's just I'm concerned.
I was a little concerned about the crown, but the crown feels great and works great. The physical buttons on the right side, the one button above the crown and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I thought all in all, from a hardware perspective, really nice. I was worried that it was a little thick. to be honest, like, because, because
really?
when you're holding it, like the way you're holding it now, like, don't put it on your arm, but to our video viewers, he's, kind of lift it up and turn it to its side. It's kind of bulbous towards the back with that, with the flashing green light for the heart rate monitor and all that stuff. But when you put it on, it kind of, I don't know what kind of happens, but it kind of like merges with your wrist, and it doesn't feel that
I
thick,
totally agree.
Yeah.
I feel like the profile on this thing when it's on my wrist feels about as flat and contoured as any wearable, smartwatch wearable that I've had on my wrist before. More so.
So hardware wise and how it feels good. Thumbs up. So now software wise, and this kind of ties back into the hardware side of it, I actually think, and I've got big fat fingers and I'm a big fat man and there's all this sort of stuff. I feel like the display is too small. I have a very hard time navigating the whole thing. And given that even when you open it up, like, it's done in black, but like if you click on the crown there, you're doing it there as you're scrolling up. When you're scrolling through a list like that, you can see the black frame of non-display, which is pretty thick around it. And you actually don't, it's deceiving in that, like, I was like, oh, I've got less screen real estate than I thought I did here. So
the rounded edges make you think that you're going to see the display all the way to the edge, but you can see the border as I'm kind of swooshing back and forth. I got to say,
the border is very
really
thick.
Bugged me.
It's absolutely bugged me, as it's been very challenging to do just the simple things that I want to do with it. Now, I understand that it has a keyboard, which is maddening to use. It has Gboard, which you can swipe to type with, which is pretty good. But what they want you to do, it's got a microphone, it's got voice search and voice and stuff, all that sort of stuff. It wants you to talk to the device. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm in a house with 2 kids and a wife, and when I open my mouth, someone's like, what are you saying? Like, everyone thinks they're talking to you. So I can't be like, talking to it like Star Trek as much as I would like it to be. So I actually found navigating the UI and using it to be frustrating, specifically, like, and I've had 2 experiences with it since I've gotten the watch last Thursday. I've just been wearing it to tell time, to look how many steps I walked, to get notifications. That's all been fine. The real test for me was actually earlier today, where I went for a run for the first time with it. And I got the LTE version so I could leave my phone at home. The idea being that I could get messages, I could do everything. I could just take my phone, I could pair my Bluetooth headsets to the watch and just go for a run and not have a problem. And this is where I ran into I have 2 major problems with it. This is where I ran into the first of it. First and foremost, software. I use Pocket Casts for my podcasts. Guess what doesn't have a Wear OS app?
Yet or ever. Who knows? Like, I know we love our friends over at Pocket Cast, but right now they got we're lucky they're still alive. They got bought by Automatic after the debacle of the NPR thing, and who knows what Automatic's doing with it. I haven't heard anything about a Wear OS app coming for Pocket Cast at all. I don't know if you have or not. No,
but
no.
So right out of the gate, I'm like, crap, how am I going to listen to my podcasts, right? It came with an app called Wearcasts, which I'm like, okay, I'll use that. It comes with Spotify, but those who listen to the show know I don't use Spotify. I could go to Spotify for, like, basically buying this watch for the purpose of running and listening to podcasts while I'm running now changes how I need to manage my podcast, which bothers me to no end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what I found myself doing last night was using Wearcasts to download, to subscribe to some of my podcasts, and downloaded. And it was 20 minutes of the most frustrating experience I've had in my life. Right. Because the app itself on the watch isn't great. Typing in the name of these very specific podcasts and like getting mixed results. Like sometimes the search worked, sometimes it didn't. It taking forever to sync the feed. Downloading episodes, like I was never sure that it completely downloaded or not. Like I don't know whether it's, I went to download an episode and it's like downloading over Bluetooth takes time. I'm like, right, but I added Wi-Fi to this. Why isn't it using Wi-Fi or using LTE? Why is it doing it via Bluetooth? Right. Mm-hmm. So like and maybe because I'm a novice and I haven't quite figured all this sort of stuff out, but but like navigating the connection state of when it's on Wi-Fi or on Bluetooth or whatever was very frustrating. I finally was able to get a couple podcasts downloaded. I was delighted when I went through the Google Play Store and that Adidas Running, which is the running app I use, has a Wear OS app. I'm like, great. So I installed that. I was like, awesome. And so this morning I went out for a run, and first I had issues with my Bluetooth headsets not maintaining the connection, which I don't know if that's the Bluetooth headsets or the phone or whatever. By about a mile into a 4-mile run, it seemed to have locked in and solidified and wasn't a problem. And I don't know if it was because proximity to my phone or whatever it was, but the further away you got from my house, the better the Bluetooth headsets were. But I did run into the issue where it would just randomly stop playing the podcast or pause the run. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because my sleeve was hitting the display or wind was hitting. Like, I don't know what thing was doing it, but I kept on stopping and starting because either the watch would buzz and the running app would tell me that it was paused. I'm like, why is it paused? Or the podcast would stop playing, which I think because it was still down, because I downloaded a 3-hour episode of Turned Out a Punk. And I think it just took, it was progressively downloading very slowly and I was catching up with it. But then finally about halfway through the run, everything was working. I was listening, I was running, it was all fine. And then I got, I did a 4-mile run this morning. I checked the watch to see how far I was a little after 3 miles. I got home and I opened up the watch because I wanted to see if the run would sync with the running app on my phone. Mm-hmm. And I go to open the Adidas running app and it just says, start a new run.
Oh, I love that. Isn't that fun?
And so then I was like, oh God, did the app crash? Did it restart? What happened to all the data that I just got or whatever? When I got into the house, I did see that it synced. It logged the run, but I couldn't see it on the watch, but it did sync to the app. But it stopped at 3 miles. Something happened in that last mile that either the app restarted or something happened. I didn't get the complete, you finished the run, all the stuff on the watch. Yeah. And I had to manually add in the extra mile and the extra time on the app itself. So I didn't completely lose the data, but it wasn't smooth and nice, right?
Well, and you didn't complete it. Yeah, it wasn't complete. So you didn't lose the data. You did lose some of it. And that's still not okay. Yeah. So frustrating start to say the least. I'm going to go out and run again this week and I'm going to use the Fitbit app this time instead of my app, instead of the Adidas app to see what happens with that whole thing. But I don't want to switch to Fitbit. Like I want to stay with Adidas. And so, so a little bit frustrating. So that was my problem number one. Problem number two, which Jason, I recall when we were talking about the Pixel Watch, which you were worried about, battery life is not great. Not great. I totally agree.
So I had it 100% charged when I left for a run this morning at 6:30 in the morning, and I've been wearing it all day since then. And so now it's 9 o'clock at night here in New York. So it's 14 hours or so, and I'm down to 14% battery. 24% battery, which isn't that bad for for better. Being at home. I went to the city on Saturday. I put on the watch on Saturday morning at like 10 a.m. and then went the whole day. I did stuff with my kids, blah, blah, blah. Then I went to the city, went to go see a band. And right around 10 o'clock at night, the watch was at 4% battery and telling me to turn it off. So, and that was being out in the world and using stuff and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, well, I left Wi-Fi on and I went to go turn Wi-Fi off. And it's like, no, we only use Wi-Fi when we need to. We'll manage your battery and all this sort of stuff. And it barely made 12 hours.
12 hours. Yeah. Oof.
So
that's rough.
All in all, on a rating, what rating scale are we using? What do you want to use? Letters, numbers? What do you want to do?
I don't know. Sure.
Let's do 1 to 10. Okay. 1 to 10. Let's do 1 to 10. Yeah. So 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I will give this a 6.
That's kind of where I was thinking you were gonna land. Yeah.
So I like it. I want to use it. I don't feel like Wear OS has really dramatically evolved since I wore the G Watch all those years ago.
Well, that says something right there.
Yeah,
which makes me wonder,
like
what would it need to do to feel like it has evolved? Then what is lacking? Is it the battery? Is it the, actually, as I'm thinking about it, it sounds like the kind of like the coordination between the apps and that whole experience is just not as tightly defined as we would hope these things would be years after Google started doing wearable development.
Yeah.
That's kind of at the end of the day, that really seems to kind of summarize the challenges that you've experienced. And that's, I would say that would be super frustrating to me too. I've been wearing my Pixel Watch, I'd say off and on. I mean, the last month of my life has been very different, let's just say. Yep. And so, I haven't been in my normal mind of like putting these things on, religiously every morning, taking them off at night, really, really noticing. The only thing, so I haven't been using a lot of the apps in here. I've really just been using it as a watch and, getting notifications. Again, that notification kind of triage aspect, I really like the haptics on it, by the way.
I do too, actually. I do like the haptics.
When I get a call or a message comes through, it's really apparent the way the watch vibrates. Like it's a nice solid feeling haptic, and I know when a call's coming through, it's really tight, and so that's really great. One thing that I've noticed is the crown that sticks out, which I actually like using to scroll. Sometimes it's kind of satisfying to just go like this instead of like going here and and messing with the screen. And I hate that I have my 2-factor on right now because it's totally bugging me. Sometimes it's nice to just scroll with the crown, but when I've got this on my wrist and I'm just doing everyday normal things, every once in a while, I think that happens. And when it does, it pulls. Of course, right now it's locked, but when it's unlocked, it will pull up a menu. And I won't notice for a while, and then I'll look down and that menu will be on there persistently. And I try and like back out in order to get that menu to go away. And it like goes back out and then it comes right back. And goes back out and comes right back. And it's so frustrating. It's like, okay, what magic do I have to create here? I end up swiping all the different ways just to get it to like take me to the home screen. And eventually I get there. And and I tried to like recreate it earlier today. I was like, okay, so why does it do that? How am I getting there? And I couldn't recreate it. So it's really hard for me to know exactly why that happens. But it happens when I'm just in the world doing normal things, and then I look down at my watch and it's in this strange position of showing that menu and it won't go away. So I don't know how it does it, but it does it, and it's done it to me multiple times. And when that happens, I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. I just want to go to the home screen, and I'm pushing the back button. I'm doing the thing that it's supposed to take me there, and it's totally confused and it's not working. So that's a little frustrating. But I do frustrating. Really,
a little frustrating, I feel like, sums up the experience. And that said, like I haven't had a wearable in years. I haven't used Wear OS in years. I'll probably get to it. I still got to figure out how the handoff between the phone and the watch works and exactly what syncs and what doesn't or whatever.
Yeah.
But the podcast problem is a real problem. I know somebody in the chat room said that Pocket Cast used to have an app. Yeah, Cousin Josh said Pocket Cast used to have an app, but it went away for Wear OS 2. Honestly, if Pocket Cast brings it back, that solves 90% of my problems, and I'll be happy.
And
right?
they will.
I don't have to. Yeah, hopefully. Will they? I don't know.
I'm pretty convinced that they will, but I guess I don't know that for sure. I don't know. Yeah, because they're good. I don't know. I have no basis for knowing that they will, but I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, I suppose. Cool. Okay, so then at the end of the day, are you in a position right now where you're like, God, I made a mistake getting the Pixel Watch, or are you still like, I like it?
No, I'm not like, oh, I got to sell this. I wasted my money. Like, no, I'm going to give this a shot. I liked being out, and like I was at, like Saturday night, I was at a show, and I was, and getting, text from my wife, and I didn't have to take my phone out. I could just look at my watch. Like, that's cool. I like that. It's, I'm going to check out Todoist with the app they made with Flutter, we talked about that, how they did a whole thing. I'm going to check out, I want to see how this can improve things more than just notifications. I'm not that big of a health nut, so I'm not delving into I'm not that's the other thing with the battery life. I'm kind of curious about the sleep metrics, but Jesus, I've got to charge it before I go to bed.
Yeah, right.
Weird,
when does it go on the charger if you're meant to wear it during the day and then you're also sleep tracking at night? Yeah, that's a really great question. Yep. It never gets charged. It charges through the pillow. Not really. Yeah, but I mean, all that aside, I love the design of this thing. I just think it's a really slick looking design. Yeah. iFixit did a teardown and they showed the inside, and the inside is not nearly as slick looking as the outside. They kind of pointed out in the teardown that this is 100%. This is a first gen device. It has super first gen vibes all the way through on the inside. From a repairability standpoint, some of the tape and the glue that they're using and everything is kind of like, what is going on here? So hopefully they improve that as well, because even though that's stuff that the majority of consumers don't see, I think it kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it speaks to the respect that a company like Google puts into it. Yes, that plasticky battery pack just is not that not that endearing on a supposed high level device. So I don't know. I feel like I think Google will get there, but it's kind of a sign of how much Google respects its own device if they can get the insides looking as good as the outsides. That speaks to longevity and a whole lot of other things too. So. But this is, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a Gen 1 device. So, I suppose they're allowed to make that mistake. Just hopefully next year they improve. But I like the design, and I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. I do think it's silly that it's a separate wireless charger than the phone.
Yeah.
I think that's silly.
A lot of the watches ship with their own little charging puck. I wasn't too surprised about that, to be honest.
Right, but if you're doing a Pixel kind of unified kind of thing, make it work. Make it work. I understand it's different wattage and all this sort of stuff. I get it, but yeah.
Right. Can I do reverse charging on my phone and set my watch on it and charge it? No, you can't. But that would be neat if you could. Get there.
Yeah. But overall, I'm not regretting the purchase. If anything, if I can work out my kinks and get a feel, it's going to be, it's going to plus up for me by not having to take my phone out on runs. And that's why I got it. So, we'll check back in a month to see if it's got to the point where I can't live without it. So,
yeah. Scooter X points out you can charge your Pixel Buds with your Pixel Watch charger. So there's a little bit of synergy, I suppose, for whatever that's worth. There you go. All right. Great stuff. OnePlus has a new Nord. If you like the low-end devices that OnePlus is releasing lately, they've got a new Nord in the family, the Nord N300. $228. Now, this is a device that you can only get on T-Mobile. So it's T-Mobile in the US, $228. That's not a lot for a phone. I have to say, design-wise, again, I think this is just really what OnePlus, especially nowadays, is pretty solid at. They're really great at giving you a design that looks more expensive and actually, seems like from a material standpoint, more expensive than what you're used to getting in that price category. This is, it has a straight edge design, so you can see the sides are kind of straight. Definitely, when I see a phone like that, I kind of think of the iPhone design approach in recent years. So I don't know if that's exactly what they were going for, but that's what they have there. Kind of that straight edgy design around. 33-watt charging, which is not bad for a $228 device. It's a pretty fast charge on that cheap, less expensive device. Side fingerprint sensor. That'll make some people happy that don't like the in-display fingerprint sensors. It also has micro SD, NFC, headphone jack. So you've got, the staples. You've still got that headphone jack. That's going to make some people happy. As for the camera, it has a 48 megapixel rear camera. It does have a second camera back there, but it's a 2 megapixel depth camera. So don't get too excited about, two lenses, but, hopefully that single 48 camera is good. Android 13 at launch, so that's good. That's good. On their lower end devices, OnePlus offers one major update, 3 years of security updates, right? They're not offering the 5 years of support. And this is actually been a question that I've had lately on lower spec devices. How could they possibly last 5 years when the OS keeps updating and everything? So I think they just kind of, ramp that down a little bit for better or for worse. The display, 6.56 inch, 720 display, does have 90 hertz though. So at $228, getting that 90 hertz display. I think this is an interesting question though. What in your mind is better, Ron? High res, that would be 1080p and 60 hertz refresh, or a lower res 720p and 90 hertz refresh? Which is the trade-off that you would prefer?
I go with the first option.
You'd go with the higher res, lower refresh.
Higher res, lower refresh rate. I think you always want high resolution.
Yeah.
I'm sure. This is times I wish Patrick Norton was here because he would tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, this is probably very subjective, right? I'm like a part of me is kind of like on 6.5 inch display, 720p is probably going to look sharp enough, but but our eyes have also gotten very used to 1080p. I mean, I know that 4K displays exist on phones, but I don't know that that my eyes have really been like spoiled by 4K. I think 1080p is enough.
Well, what's interesting is that like I'm doing Google's our friend. I'm doing a quick Google search, and all the gaming PCs and monitor research and stuff like that are all saying refresh rate is more important than resolution, right? That everyone is saying that across the board. But on a phone, I don't know how, especially when you're at 720p, that's a real step down.
Yeah.
Like that's what got me is that I mean, like a faster refresh rate gives you a smoother kind of a smoother experience, a viewing experience.
Yeah.
But if it's at a 720p, like isn't it still going to look kind of crappy? I don't know. I
don't know. I don't see 720 in the same light as I do like in a true SD kind of video thing. I mean, I just think when I think of phones, I think everything's just smaller to begin with, and
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that I'd notice as much of a difference. I probably would notice a difference. Like looking at 720p versus 1080p on a phone display, I probably could look at one and be like, oh, that's definitely 720p. But yeah, so I don't know how to answer this question. I'm probably more likely to say 1080p 60 hertz just because we had that for so long and it was just fine. It's not like 60 hertz is like but like stop animation or anything like that. It's still fluid. It's just 90 hertz is smooth, and it's so nice when you get that smoothness. But I think you're right. I think the 1080p versus like if it was 720 might be just a little bit too blurry, or not blurry, but just not nearly as sharp as we've gotten very used to seeing at this point.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe folks listening have a different opinion, and we would love to hear it.
I'm gonna weigh in on the fact that I'm fairly certain because I said resolution. The answer is refresh rate, but we'll get somebody to confirm that for us.
All right. There we go. Let us know.
Yeah. So as we all know, we all have our own little beats here on All About Android, little topics and areas that we're interested in, our own Discover tab, as it will. And one of mine is the fascination with the Nothing company, Carl Pei's new company. And we know that their first product they released was the Ear One, was a pair of earbuds. And I got to give Carl Pei credit. OnePlus was an innovator with marketing. Nothing appears to be following the same suit. And they are taking the unique position of raising the price on a product.
Wow.
Which you don't see often.
No, you don't.
It launched at $99 and they're raising it to $149, which is 50%.
That's a big increase.
It's a big price hike. Carl Pei cited the increase as costs to make the device as the cause, but then also tried to balance it out by noting the amount of development effort put into it since its release last year. Carl Pei said a year later we have 185. During this time, the Ear One has received 15 firmware and tuning updates and is a completely different product from when we launched it. But did not expect the price to go up on it. That's weird. I know we're always talking about inflation, but geez, but this is coming on the heels of their next announcement, which is actually happening tomorrow. They didn't get the memo. They need to do these on Tuesday so we can talk about it. But we teased this when they announced it, I think, a couple of weeks ago on the show.
I missed that. Yeah.
That's okay. They're coming out with that was before these leaks came out, Jason, so it's fine. But they're going to be announcing the Ear Stick on October 26th at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can go watch it at nothing.tech on the web. But on Twitter, Kuba Wojciechowski leaked images of the new device. And in the teaser image, you just see the woman holding the case up to her eyes. You don't actually see the new earbuds. But in this leak, you see confirmed that the case looks very different. I actually think it looks better, to be honest with you. I kind of like the cylinder kind of approach. But the earbuds, the ear sticks themselves seem to lack the inner ear, the inside ear tip to it. Which might means these are more kind of rest inside the ear buds, which is the kind I like and prefer.
The kind you like.
So I'm going to be paying attention to this tomorrow to see if I found my next favorite earbuds, if they replace my Nexigos that barely ever stay connected to my devices.
Oh, man. And how much did you pay for those Nexigos? I remember that was
$60 or whatever. Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
So they disconnect regularly. That's a bummer.
Well, I mean, that was what was happening this morning, at least when I first started, where it was very frustrating.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
Yeah. So.
The ear stick. Yeah. The ear parens stick. There we go. Resting on the inner ear. That's the kind of earbud that I don't like, but that's the kind that you like. So how would at least with a wired earbud that kind of rests in the ear, at least you have kind of the anchor, the weight of the cord to kind of keep it locked into your ear. Like I always think of those silicone plugs as ways to keep it from falling out of the ear. If it's just resting in there, how does the little bud not fall out? I guess I don't understand. I guess there's plenty of that, but
it's no, I mean, like the Nexigos I have right here, I'm just going to pair to something, but this is essentially here. I'm holding it. It's hard because it's very small. My fingers are fat, but I can't get an angle where I'm actually.
I see it.
So it is just a little. It just goes right in the ear and stays in my ear hole.
And it does well when you're running.
Yeah, it does well. Yeah, it does well when I'm running. Yeah, I think so. So, but it doesn't fall out. That's for sure. So
okay, good. Yeah. Well, that's the important part. So, all right. Well, I guess it's tomorrow. We're gonna find more out about the Nothing Ear Stick for your ears. All right.
Cool. All right. Well, let's take a moment and thank our next sponsor for the evening, because this episode of All About Android is brought to you by HPE Green Lake, orchestrated by the experts at CDW. And listen, the people at CDW understand that your organization needs simple management over its big data. But with workloads remaining on-prem due to legacy systems, it can feel challenging to organize and optimize your data. And that's where CDW can help your organization by consolidating and managing all your data in one flexible, unified experience with the HPE Green Lake Edge-to-Cloud platform. The experience you'll get with HPE Green Lake is unique because no matter where your data or applications live, you can free up energy and resources with automated processes and streamlined management. And we could all use a little more streamlined things, couldn't we? Of course we can. Not only that, HPE Green Lake creates a seamless cloud experience among multiple data environments thanks to the as-a-service model that meets your remote workforce at the edge. And with unrivaled scalability, you'll see an instant increase in capacity, allowing for greater flexibility and accelerated business growth. So your team can tackle bigger priorities like innovation. You should be innovating. So go innovate. When it comes to streamlined management, HPE makes data transformation possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/HPE. And thanks CDW and HPE for sponsoring this episode of All About Android.
That's right. Thank you.
Hooray.
All right. And thank you for loving apps, because that's why we have this next section. It's called apps, and here it comes.
Gotta love our apps, especially those apps that we pay for. And this was actually, as someone who pays for YouTube Premium, I was watching this story very closely. I don't know, Jason, I don't know how plugged into the world you are, but there appears to be some sort of war going on for streaming services and subscription models. I don't know if you saw Apple TV Plus just hiked up their price.
They're all going up. Yeah,
that's all they can do. The only way you can go is up. I mean, they're following Nothing's in Nothing's footsteps. But right. YouTube Premium is getting a price hike if you have the family plan. So it's been $17.99 per month for up to 6 accounts on the same subscription. And that's been going on since 2018. Now that's going to increase to $22.99 per month, which is a 25% increase starting on November 21st. The price increase doesn't seem to impact individual accounts, just that family account, which I'm pretty sure that's what I have. And if you have held on to your YouTube Red discounted rate of $14.99 a month, well, all good things come to an end. That's going to wrap up. That's going to jump up to $22.99 as well, but not until April. So you'll get some extra time. So I need to dig in to see if I'm paying $14.99 or $17.99. I think I'm paying $14.99. But yeah, everything's coming home to roost. Everything's coming home to roost. And what's funny is that right before the show, I actually got an email from them. The subject line was, "We're bringing more value to your membership." And it's going over all the things that they're doing, like exclusive content, YouTube Music Premium, smart downloads, watch videos together with friends. They're saying now with Google Meet live sharing, you can hop on a Google Meet call and watch YouTube together. And then also they as one of the features that they're providing to me, the user, exclusive access to the after party, Another Taste of Honey, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Mariah Carey's Butterfly album, which should be sealed the deal. It should be grounds for canceling the service completely.
No, that seals the deal, Ron. That's speaking directly to you.
But they go on to tell you that, you've got premium benefits, and you can, and if you invite friends to premium, you get a bonus month for your membership for every friend that you get to try it for 3 months. So really pushing that kind of viral kind of thing to save money on it. But yeah, so they're trying hard to retain people, but also raise the price. So.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's only one way to go, and that is up, and shareholders require making more money. And when you've started at one point, you got to figure out, okay, how do we, have we reached all of the users that we possibly can, or as many as we're likely to? And if that answer is yes, very, very possibly, we're around there, then how do we get more from the users we already have? And that's exactly what this is, getting more from the users we already have. The family plans seem like the easy target, because that's the way that, people get a heavier discount. We get 5 or 6 people on a single account. You break that out into the per user, cost, and, that's $3 to $4 per user. I mean, at this new price. On the other price, it was like $1.50 or something like this. So automatically, boom, they end up making more per user as a result of the hike. They aren't increasing the price on the regular account, but boy, I wouldn't be surprised if some point down the line they do that too. It's got to be at some point. It's got to happen at some point, because they're going to run into the same issue again. It's going to be like, well, how do we get a little bit more out of the users we already have? And that's how you do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I was talking to one of my friends about the price hikes, and there's this and the Apple TV Plus one, and Disney Plus is going up, and Netflix is going up. They're getting rid of sharing, right? Like sharing passwords and all this sort of stuff. And one of my friends were just saying that, it's going to get to be untenable to have all of these services. And at some point, are they going to start banding together and providing like bundles like the cable company did that we got away from?
Right back to square one, isn't it?
It's just so frustrating, because I feel like we always have, this is the story of the past 20 years of the internet and technology, is that we have the future in our grasp, and somehow it gets screwed up. And this is just the latest example of how it got screwed up. So
yeah, that's interesting. What is old is new again. Yeah, this is lame. What we really need are bundles of services. Like, wait a minute, we're going right back to cable again. Exactly where we're going. Have you noticed a new icon appear on your phone, Ron? A bluish kind of multi-tone?
I did. I got all excited. In fact, I messaged you on WhatsApp when I got it. I was like, ooh. I was like, what is that? Yeah.
New icons coming for messages. That's the only one that I've received, is the messages icon here. I can actually show it. Well, you can see it in that screenshot, but I've got it down there too. That's what. Oh, and I do have contacts now. It hadn't changed before, but now I have it. So messages, contacts, and supposedly phone, although my phone is still old school.
Contacts hasn't changed for me yet.
Okay. Well, contacts and phone are going to change as well. It's like this multi-tone. What's interesting, though, is it doesn't match that style, which was the latest redesign style. It's kind of, they're all similar to each other being phone, messages, and contacts, but they're not similar to all the other icons. So who knows? Maybe all of the icons are getting upgraded again. That's just how it works, I suppose. But Messages is also getting some other meaningful upgrades. If by meaningful, if you consider features that are very similar to iMessage, like interactions meaningful. It's getting the emoji reactions so that you can add a reaction to things. Android to Android, they will appear attached to the message, kind of like what we've been seeing in the reverse, after Google did its change where it converted iMessage reactions into actual reactions that are associated with the message. I hope that made sense. We're going to be getting that Android to Android in Messages very soon. Android to iOS, they will appear in a separate text message. So maybe that's like a taste of your own medicine sort of thing. I don't know if that's the way it's intended, but that's kind of what it seems like. Voice message transcription, so you don't actually have to listen to the voice message, because we don't leave I don't leave very many voice messages anymore, or voicemails, actually. I never leave a voice message in Android Messages. But when I call someone and I get their voicemail, I usually hang up and then I send them a text message. That's just how I roll now. So having voice message transcriptions means you still don't have to listen to the voice messages that are left inside of Android Messages if you don't want to. You can just read them. It will scan conversations for things that would benefit from a reminder. So like a birthday or an event, if someone says, oh, hey, your birthday's coming up and we're throwing you a party, it's on Tuesday, then it would scan that message and know to offer you a reminder to like set that up, or addresses, that sort of stuff. If someone asks you about video chatting, you'll get a message that you can tap to initiate the video call. So it's saving you a step. It's like, oh, they said they might want a video message or a video chat. Here's a link. Just tap this and you'll jump right into a video chat. And Google is partnering with airlines, similar to what Apple has done as well, to bring free messaging into the cabin while you're in flight. And I was actually coming back from Boise just yesterday on a United flight, and they had this in the cabin when I logged into the app on my phone and was looking at it. You have to pay for in-flight Wi-Fi, but they had messaging and it was free and you could do it. And it was very limited number of services like Messages, Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and I think one other, which I can't remember. I don't think it was this yet, but anyways, that's coming. It will include RCS. So some good updates to Android messaging care of Google Messages.
I love the work they're doing with Google Messages, by the way. I just love it.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know.
I like the app. I'm so
happy with it. Like, remember, Jason, my years of trying to find the I use Textra, I use all this other thing. Like, I feel like Google finally caught up with the third-party developers and have made SMS messaging used to be something that was a pain in my butt, and now it's something I actually look forward to. I hated SMS so much that I tried to move as much as I could to WhatsApp for obvious reasons that we've discussed, but I find just using messages to be a joy now. So. Is
it because, do you attribute that partially to the RCS features, like the typing indicators and the things like that?
I actually don't. I mean, the typing indicator, I don't care. I'm less typing somebody real time, but just like the little touches to it, the reactions, the integration, like the iMessage-esque like stuff, has made messaging with my iOS friends easier. I love the web client. I use the web client probably more than the phone client, to be honest, because I'm at my desk all the time, but I just use it. I think it's great. So
nice. Cool. Well, there you go. Actually, and I should also mention that Scooter X posted a link that I had missed that says that they're also testing a new design around those indicators, the delivered and the read indicators inside the app as well. So, so they're getting more and more. They're adding more and more of these features to Google Messages, an app that is really designed to be your SMS or RCS app, but through RCS and all of these features, it's really building it up to be kind of like the iMessage for Android. Whether it actually, fulfills its storied place in history the way iMessage does for Apple remains to be seen. But it's certainly improving it, making it more like a messaging platform than just a dumb SMS app. And I think they're doing a really great thing with it. They just need to continue. So
cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, good job on your Google Messages. Keep up the good work. And so now's the time where we get to visit our good friend J.R. Raphael, who has been diving deep into Pixel 7. For those of you who are getting the Pixel 7 or have the Pixel 7, last week he provided some great tips. This week, he's going to share some camera tips. So let's hear from J.R.
Hey, happy final AAA show before Halloween. I went ahead and wore my costume in honor of the occasion. In case you can't tell, I am a dork. It's pretty easy to pull off if we're being honest. So, all right, last week we talked about some tips specifically for the Pixel phone's camera. I promised I'd have some more to share with you today. These ones that I'm going to go over now, they're really my favorite kind of Android discoveries, the handy little hidden shortcuts. So here we go. This first one should work on any Pixel model. You probably know already that you can snap a photo in the Pixel camera app by tapping either of the phone's physical volume keys, right? Pretty useful little trick. But here's something I actually just learned the other day about that. You can also capture a video by pressing and holding down those same volume buttons, either one of them. Your camera will start recording after you've held either key down, volume up or volume down, just for like a second or so, and then it'll keep recording until you let go. Now, that is good to know. Next, back in the main viewfinder area, you know that little circle in the lower right corner of the screen where you can see a tiny little preview of the last picture or video you took on your phone? Well, as of the Pixel 7, that circle has another hidden function. You can press and hold it to pull up a secret menu that'll let you have your next photo or video saved in the Google Photos locked folder. That's the place where it never gets backed up. You can only get to it if you authenticate with your fingerprint or password first. And that same menu is actually available on earlier Pixels too, but it's in a separate button in the upper right corner of the camera app screen. So if you've got a Pixel 7 or Pixel 7 Pro, or maybe you're just thinking about picking one up sometime soon, well, now you know where to look the next time you need to take a photograph that's, shall we say, especially sensitive. And hey, remember, if you've got a Pixel, any old Pixel, I've got a cool free course with lots more tips like these. It's called Pixel Academy. It's a 7-day email adventure, absolutely just overflowing with really useful Pixel time savers, photo tricks, all sorts of other good stuff. It's completely free for you too, no catch. Just head over to androidintel.net/twit and look for the Pixel Academy button at the bottom of the screen to get started. That site again is androidintel.net/twit. I'll see you there, and I'll see you right back here next week.
Thank you, JR. That was a new one. I didn't know that existed. Yeah. I knew about the hold down the volume button to record a video because I've done that once by accident. I was like, oh, that's neat. But I didn't know about the hidden folder. It's tap and holding on the little gallery circle. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. He finds these tips. I give him credit. This is not only enriched all about Android for you, the viewer, but also us, the hosts, because we're learning something new every week too, which is great.
Absolutely. So. Thank you, JR. Android Intelligence. Check him out there. All right. Up next, your feedback coming up. AAA at twit.tv, 347 show AAA. I got to tell you, we got a ton of feedback this last week, a lot of really great feedback. So if you are one of those people who sent in feedback and it's not one of the three that we picked today, I'm setting aside the really great feedback so we can have a feedback heavy episode here coming up in the coming weeks. I'm just kind of waiting for a week where news has kind of slowed down a little bit because there's just a lot in the news right now. So I'm setting it aside. So if it isn't answered today or read today, fear not, we'll probably get to it sometime in the coming weeks. I've got them set aside for you. So, and no doubt we'll probably get lots more great feedback this week, and that list will get longer and longer. We'll see where we get to. But first, maybe later. But for now, Is it Al or AI? If it's AI, I'm a little scared. But anyways, says, hey guys, everyone doing tech reviews is making a mistake. Every review I read or hear compares Pixel Watch to Samsung and Apple, but not to other Fitbit watches like the Versa 4 and Sense 2. I have a Versa 2. I just bought a Sense 2. I wanted things like EKG in addition to other heart monitoring features like irregular rhythm tracking. The Versa 4 and Sense 2 were launched just before the Pixel Watch and are available from Google Store and Fitbit Store. Pixel Watch also on the Fitbit Store. I bought Sense 2 as an upgrade. It had more health tracking features, square screen, 6-day battery versus 1 day for Pixel Watch, and is cheaper than the Pixel Watch. I like the square screen because I want more statistics on my home screen, and the square screen does better at displaying these. That is absolutely true. When you want to cram information in, that square screen, it's just, we have better ways of cramming information in. The round, it cuts off too much at the tops and the bottoms, and so you're really limited. You have to do a lot more scrolling to actually see that data. He says, I lost some styling and Android integration, but the heart tracking is much more important to me. I can still see text and who's calling from my Pixel 6 XL phone, very nice, but can't make and receive calls and do not have Google Assistant. Fitbit still has Alexa. Amazon's assistant. So there you go. Thank you for kind of the insight into why you like the Fitbit devices over the Pixel Watch. I think we were asking for that last week, and we do have more of that, I think, coming up a little bit later and in the the archives from all the great email we got this last week. But I think that was a really great way to kind of walk through it. You know, not being able to make and receive calls, I guess for some people, maybe that's the differentiator between a smartwatch and a fitness wearable. You probably don't see a whole lot of that on a fitness wearable because that does consume a lot of battery, you know.
And the thing about it is, and the reason why I went with the LTE version is the having the ability to do it. Not that I plan to do it, but having the ability to do it, right? So if I want to go for a long 10-mile run and not take my phone, I can't be disconnected from my wife. That's period. That's why I can't. So so I wanted the option. So God forbid I need to, I can call and be like, what's the matter? Okay, come get me, or I'll be right there, or whatever it might be. Like, I don't find myself, you know, in a position where I think I'm looking forward to taking calls on the phone. Now, I've yet to take a single call on it, so maybe I'll fall in love with it. Like, oh, it's so easy, it's so great, but like, I don't want anyone to hear what's being talked about. Like, I don't always have my earbuds in. Like, I see it as like in a case of emergency option. So
okay, that's nice. Yeah, cool. Thanks for writing in.
All right, so our next email comes from KV, the elusive KV, and says, enjoyed the low-key milestone episode 600. Congrats. For the Signal discussions, there were questions around RCS support. As mentioned in All About Android 560, in your great interview with, I'm going to butcher the name, and Jason, maybe you do it better than Jan Jedrzejewicz,
yes. Sure.
Yeah. And we practiced so hard in that episode to get it right, and now it's
I know. Hey, look, it was 40 episodes ago, okay? Yeah. That was more than a year ago.
Jan, we apologize, and we thank you for coming on the show. But so Jan, the RCS API is not public or open to third parties except OEMs like Samsung, which means regular developers of third-party apps like Signal, WhatsApp, Textra, etc., cannot support RCS without Alphabet/Google's approval. To me, this is one of the major hurdles to RCS adoption. Sorry to bring that up again. But here's to another 600 episodes. Yay. Regards, KV. And yeah, you're right. I mean, like, RCS isn't an open standard that anybody can go plug in and use. You got to work at Google to do it. That's just. But the thing is that like Signal could. Yeah. Right. It's not like they're not a million of download app. Like if they emailed Google, they would get their attention. They could do it if they wanted to. I think I'm conjecturing or I'm assuming that they could if they wanted to. I don't know how tightly Google is holding in the reins on RCS or not. So,
or is Google waiting for a moment before they make that announcement? Like, now we're opening up, RCS API support for all developers if they, do this thing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that is a big barrier, actually. The fact that SMS has been for so very long completely open to anyone who wants to, create an app around it. that allows SMS to really thrive, or has allowed SMS to really thrive.
Yep.
If you want RCS to get there, it's got to be accessible too, right? So
yeah,
that's a really great point. Thank you, KB. And finally, we have the email of the week. And the emailer of the week is Jake the Snake, an appreciative listener, says Jake the Snake. I wonder if it's the wrestler. Do you think maybe the wrestler
That'd be
is
cool.
a big Android fan?
I think he's dead. Isn't he dead?
So if it is the wrestler, whoa, that's weird.
I don't wait. No, he's not dead. He's not dead. He's 67. He's still alive.
Okay, good.
He's
still weird.
He's okay.
But anyways, Jake the Snake says, after hearing last week's email from Daniel Chavez, I felt the need to chime in. My case, I admit, is far outside the norm for most people. I am a truck driver. I stay on the truck and don't go home for 6 to 8 weeks and then come home for 2 to 3 days to do laundry and restock through the summer, through the spring and fall, and through the winter. Go out for 4 weeks and take 2 days off till spring. I also take one summer vacation that lasts between 5 and 15 days. I use an LTE-enabled smartwatch, currently a Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. On the truck, it's really just a watch. Doesn't get much use. But when I go home, I don't want to look at screens or social media or news while I'm at home. As the company I drive with is a small company and I'm personally invested in the company, I need to be able to be contacted. And as I am also in the process of starting a small business, I need to be able to be contacted. When I'm at home, that is my time to relax, to spend with my family and friends, and I don't get a lot of it. I leave my phone and tablet in the truck, even on vacation. I don't take a GPS, and yes, I drive everywhere. The watch allows me to be contacted in emergency by family, business partners, or coworkers, but isn't capable of doing enough to be in my way or distract me from the things that matter most. An appreciative listener, Jake the Snake. And I like that as a use case for why the watch, and why a watch that can stand alone, has the LTE. It's actually very similar to kind of what you were talking about, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the thing about all this is that everybody has a different need and a different use for it. Right. And so the challenge for Google, or the challenge for these other manufacturers, and also from from the OS standpoint, is that how do you make something that can do mostly everybody for everyone? Right. And it might not do it perfectly, but it's you got to start somewhere. Right. So.
Burke is letting me know that I missed a joke in the email. It's signed an appreciative listener, Jake the Snake, or from State Farm. And I omitted the State Farm. I was not aware that Jake the Snake was doing State Farm ads. I didn't know that.
There it is.
Jason, wait, you missed it. It's Jake from State Farm is the joke, not Jake the Snake.
Wait, no, I did a search. I did a Google search. And there is an image, Jake the Snake from State Farm.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that part.
There you see. I didn't either.
All right.
So everybody, let me tell you why it's funny. No, I'm not going to explain to you the joke. We've already butchered it. So apologies, Jake the Snake, for your humor fell flat, but still, it's pretty funny, and you still got the email of the week. Thank you for writing in. All right, we have reached the end of this episode of All About Android, and I enjoy the opportunity to do the show with just you sometimes, Ron. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Likewise. I mean, this is the way it started, and this is the way it's going to end. And when we're at episode 1,600, it's going to be 601. It'll be us again. But I love our whole All About Android family. But it's always great when you and I get this alone time. So
absolutely. What do you want to leave people with?
Just head over to Twitter and Instagram. I'm at RonXO on both of those platforms. You can check out the stuff that I post there. If you're into pinball, check out Scorbit in the Google Play Store, or go to Scorbit.io, check out our hardware. We just were at Pinball Expo last weekend in Chicago, had a great time, had a really good show. Actually, it was really funny, and I don't know the listener's name. So there's somebody in Indianapolis who listens to the show, because one of my team at Scorbit moved to Indianapolis, was at a co-working space, and he's working on a piece of hardware for us. And he was chatting with somebody at the co-working space, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I work for the startup called Scorbit." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I know that. Ron talks about it, All About Android."
And you were like,
but I didn't get his name. So if you're in Indianapolis and you met my friend Tom, you know who you are. And thank you for listening. And
that person definitely listens and doesn't watch.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
But anyway, so that's me.
Love it. All right. Thanks, Ron. Also, big thanks to J.R. Rayfield, Android Intelligence. Check him out there. Victor and Burke, both behind the scenes. Although Burke, you're like behind the scenes, but also sometimes in front of the mic. So, you know, and you have the ability, you have the power to give yourself applause, which is impressive. We all should have an applause track follow us around like Burke does.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. But thank you nonetheless for what you do. And thanks to Victor behind the scenes as well. You can find me at Jason Howell on Twitter, doing Tech News Weekly every Thursday with Micah Sargent. We do that this Thursday at twit.tv/TNW, and then producing a bunch of other shows, including This Week in Tech for Leo Laporte. Do not forget, and more and more, this has just become a really important part of our business. It's Club Twit. It's an ad-free subscription tier. So you might want our shows, but you don't want the ads in them. Well, this is how you get it. You might want all of our shows with no ads in them, and then you also want shows that you don't normally get access to, like Stacy's Book Club and Hands on Windows and Hands on Mac. Well, this is how you get it. You might want all of our shows with no ads and shows that you can't normally get, pre and post show stuff as Twit extras and all those extra shows, and then also get access to a Discord that has other fans of Twit talking about everything that we talk about, plus all sorts of other things like music and cryptocurrency and many other things that I don't have in front of me right now. Posting animated GIFs of Jake the Snake in the ring. Yeah, that too. If you want all these things, it sounds good to you. Twit.tv/Club Twit is where you go. You get it for $7 a month, or you can pay for a full year, $84. And it's really important to us. You get all that added value. It helps us as we navigate into this next year, which is looking a little rocky. I'm sure you've seen, the economy's going in strange places, and I think advertisers might be a little, curious about that, to say the least. So help us out, twit.tv/Club Twit. As for this show, we record this every Tuesday evening. We publish to our podcast feeds. So if you're subscribed to those feeds, you'll get it automatically. Just go to twit.tv/AAA and you can find those feeds, subscribe to them, and then you'll never miss a single episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of All About Android. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands on Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.